All right, let's do this. I'm actually nice and alive and awake this morning. All right. Hey, everybody. Good morning. Welcome to another episode of CafeBTW, a morning gaming podcast. And I want to apologize. Last week, as you know, our guest didn't show up, but this week our guest did show up. And as you see, we have Dylan here, who is the owner of Retro Respawn, who actually is also in the Valley here where I live in California. What's up, Dylan? How you doing?
Guys? I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. This should be fun, honestly.
Yeah, of course. We only have fun on here. But so here's the fun part about the show is before we get like right into it, Dylan, I like to ask my guests a question, and you got to, think about a story when you were a kid that bring us back to how did you get connected to the love of like video games? Like what was it about your childhood? Was it going to the store with your parents? Was it playing X game with a friend? What was it from your childhood that brought you here? Like how did you get here? Is basically the question to start.
How did I get here? Believe it or not, I didn't start playing video games until like I want to say 6 or something, right? I think my parents were trying to keep me away from it. I'm not entirely sure. I think like I remember I played Tetris. I remember seeing Bus move at like arcades and everything. But like the first real game I got was probably Pokemon like Blue. And I remember playing that for Game Boy a lot. And it is what it is on that. I didn't know what I was doing when I was that little, but it wasn't until playing Turok Dinosaur Hunter, probably near like the Christmas of that time. I can't remember if that is the exact time, like 97, but if I recall.
Wasn't it a release title for the 64 or
No, believe it. I get just because I know.
you definitely know.
The 64 was plagued at the beginning of its lifespan. It did not get a third released game span until almost 6 months after its release. It was launched with Pilot Wings and Mario 64. And I know that sounds crazy, but that's
No, that's not crazy.
So, yeah.
So, okay, so obviously you like video games because you own a retro store. Before we get to like and just so people know that which we'll get into, is there anything else about video games that was like that said to you like, hey, because you worked in video game stores your whole life, right? Before you became an owner.
No. I worked with Elliot for 2 years, but I actually have a bachelor's in art, and I tried super hard to get in industry. I even basically helped open a indie studio that is open today. They aren't getting any money, but they are working out of garage and everything like that. I just left it because it wasn't on the time frame I believe was possible for anything. You know what I mean? Like I don't doubt that they can release it. It's gonna be like a Owlboy story where it's 12 years later.
Oh wow! So okay, so how did you? So let's talk about before we go like kind of like back into like how you started with Retro Respawn. Tell us a little bit about the store. Tell us about where you're located, what you're doing, and when you opened Retro Respawn, which is the store in Arleta, right? Is that how you say it? Is it Arleta or Arleta?
Arleta. It's on Woodman and Chase, and when did I open? July 31st, we had our grand opening. So we haven't even been open that long. So it's kind of hard to say even what we do because I have a lot of plans, but COVID kind of prevents that. Like I would love to host Yu-Gi-Oh! And Pokemon tournaments, but I don't want any little kids or anybody getting sick beforehand or anything like that. Again, we sell retro video games and stuff like that.
The cool stuff. You have the cool stuff.
I mean, mine cool too, but you know.
Hey, thanks very Vanessa for the follow. But you just okay. So you just opened. We're talking July 2021, right? A year after this pandemic hit, right?
Yeah,
So obviously you have this retro store, which I have been to and I have supported you. Actually,
yeah, of
I
course.
picked up a bunch of great Xbox games from you. And you know what I liked about that experience is that I went in and you helped me look through the Xbox section, and like we were like looking through like what games were interesting, cuz I'm kind of like focus collecting right now on the original Xbox for some reason, cuz like I'm kind of everyone's going this direction, Dylan, and I'm going this direction. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
So you had you're personable, and I really love that about your store. But how did you so let's rewind. Before the pandemic, what were you doing? Weren't you working with the store Game Tower, which is a
I
local
was
LA store?
I was working for the store Game Tower, and even when I was working for Elliot, I had still the full intention to what do you say?
Open a store?
Get in industry. I had full intention to get in industry with game design, just because I was a 3D modeler, top of my class. I got featured in a lot of those art shows and all that stuff, right? And I really thought I could make it because like all my professors like I really can make it like and stuff like that. Like I was inspiration to class, but I didn't for whatever reason. I know a lot of my friends who surpassed it and blown me out of the water, but I don't know if it was speed the I or my texturing or whatever happened. Again, I just didn't make it. Um, I came into a crossroads basically when I was working on my big star portfolio piece, and it was taking a very long time. And I basically looked at it, and it's going to take at least 3 more months to work on it. Um, and Elliot had asked me if I wanted to franchise
And
Game Tower.
just so everyone knows, Elliot owns Game Tower, which is a video game store. Just to give context, Dylan, so everyone knows, um,
I
Dill,
think
Elliot is the owner of three shops, right? Am I right? He owns
three
one
games.
in Northridge, Echo Park, and Santa Clarita, I believe, right?
Yeah, that's
Okay,
what it
sorry,
is.
didn't mean to cut you off. I just want to give some context.
No, no, I get you. I get you. And he had asked me because again, I don't know how. I've never talked to you or about this,
Yeah.
but even way before Game Tower existed, like I'm gonna say probably 2014 ish, right? Um,
Yeah, because they've been
he,
open for what, like 5 years or something? So that's not that long
um,
either.
I he, I really want to say it's just been 3.5 or something. I
Wow.
really it's been like 3.5. And then I was gonna say, when he before he was opening his first store, he had asked me to co-open with it. But again, I was so focused on college and stuff, and I was convinced again, game stores don't stay open. When I was a little kid, there were so many of these retro stores, but they all vanished. You know what I mean? They disappeared off the face of the earth. The only one I
They
know that,
did.
yeah, it really stayed open again in this area is
Game Dude.
I don't know if they'll ever go out of business. The fact that I could order stuff from like Texas and stuff like that, and it has a Game Dude sticker, still blows my mind.
So that's the thing, and I wanted to, everyone knows if you've watched my TikTok, I've gone to Game Dude many times, and Dylan, I'm from New Jersey, and I
Of course,
moved here 15 years ago, and the only store I knew of in LA was Game Dude, right? And this is 15 years ago. Like that's the only place I would buy retro games, and then people started popping up. Game Realms, and this is in LA, by the way, everyone. Game Realms, I think, popped up, right? And then Game Tower, and now there's LA Video Games, and you are around. Like, there's just been like this like explosion. And I remember this is, I started recollecting retro games 10 years ago, and that Game Dude was where I went. You know,
mm-hmm.
I, being in California, I was like, I'm really lucky to have this 30-year-old game store here. But now it's like, what do you think of that whole explosion recently with retro stores just kind of popping up? And it's not just in LA, it's around the country. A lot of that is happening.
it is a little weird. I mean, again, the video game market is crazy right now. Like things have gone up to like obscene prices. Like the fact that Mario Kart Double Dash, I'm just looking at that game as an example, is as expensive as it is
What is
crazy.
it? What does Double Dash go for? $80 now?
Yeah, I think that's what I sell for. But again, on a good day, you could probably find it for 60. But that before pandemic, that game was like what 45 or something, if
Sure.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I agree. It was pretty affordable. Same with like Super Mario Sunshine. I remember it was always like, $50 or something. Now what is that? $100 now or something?
nah, it's definitely gone down.
Oh, has it? Okay.
It was really high right before they announced the remake.
So then what is causing, is it the pandemic that caused this kind of like odd explosion? I'm going to be honest, Dylan, when the pandemic happened, I was like, retro stores are ruined. It's over. This is it. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and it went the opposite direction. It went completely north where I thought it was going to go south. What's going on? Like, I think, having someone like you that owns a store, I really want to hear your perspective on that.
I know that it's as goofy as this sounds. I think it's. I mean, don't get me wrong. Um, Pandemic definitely has to do a lot with it. I think people have had a chance to basically put. I wouldn't say life on pause because that sounds again kind of attacking them, even if they weren't working during pandemic or anything like that. But I feel like people were able to reflect more on what they owned and stuff like that, and what they hadn't had a chance to do in a long time because they weren't allowed to go see people. You weren't going to parties. Again, you had those people who probably were going out 4 or 5 times a week. Now you're told, yo, you can't do that. What do you like now? Do you still like, do you want to retouch with your childhood? Because again, I'm going to bring him up just because I think this is a spark of like, what like the super spark is Logan Paul buying that Charizard is
That changed
again,
everything, right? That changed
Pokemon
everything.
never really recovered since that.
Oh
Like
my
again,
god.
it's not 100% his fault because don't get me wrong, there's a bunch of YouTube channels like Simply Unlucky has been opening packs for 100 years on YouTube, but um, he was definitely just like that. I used to play competitive Yu-Gi-Oh from like 2007 to like 2017 or something like that. And
Dylan, some
I
in chat they said ugh that guy. Um
yeah, I hug that guy. Um, which is funny because he lives in the valley too, basically.
Oh, Logan
Yeah,
Paul? Yeah, that makes sense.
he shops at Toy Mandala. I've heard so.
Oh my god. And hold on, Dodger said I also think physical stores like Toys R Us and GameStop are closing. And then hey, shout out to Tao. Thanks for stopping by, Tao. And No Fear, what's up? Good morning. Yeah, man, that's super interesting. So in the pandemic, Dylan, I work in the gaming influencer space, believe it or not. Like
Okay.
I work so but what's happened is when the pandemic hit, it became an influencer market. The actor was the backseat, right? They weren't in the mood, they weren't shooting, they weren't doing, but influencers like Logan Paul were doing stuff. So I love your point. This is really important to talk about. People were stuck at home and
Yeah,
they're looking at their closets and they're like, "Oh my god, I got all these old video games here, or I got all these Pokemon cards." And I think you're right. Like, I think people started looking because they had nothing else to do, and collecting became a thing again. And this goes
yeah,
for baseball cards and football cards. Like that whole trading card industry blew up too, right? But
yeah,
Logan Paul does a video and influences, that's what they're called, right? Influencers influences people to buying Pokemon, and you're right, Pokemon hasn't recovered. It's just like this like crazy market right now.
yeah.
um
And
so
then see what it blows my mind again. This is just someone who's come from card collecting in general. With this big boom, it's crazy that everyone right now is buying so much current stuff because now these current cards are hyper printed and they won't hold value.
So you're saying that the current like modern
I
Pokemon cards aren't going to be worth?
legitimately think, like, don't get me wrong, there will be some that hold a moderate value, but the cards have never been printed this much since like '97.
Well,
And then they were doing first editions and stuff, right? And like base set, you already know all that. I'm sure you've heard all these words before, right?
yep.
But that's what I mean. There were first prints. They don't do that anymore. So X card released a year ago versus X card, let's say they reprint the set to for demand, is the same card.
Wow.
Do you see what I'm saying?
I see what you're saying. Yeah, totally. So what was it about video games during the pandemic that everything started to go north? It was already going north, right? Before the pandemic, retro collecting was sort of going north, right? But what happened? Was it the Logan Paul thing, or what happened with games? Like, why did that start to spike like it did?
Um, the first console I remember we were really noticing that was like, okay, what's going on is the Wii. There were times when I worked at Game Tower where people would, like before pandemic, where people would bring in 10 Wii consoles and we would be like, nah, because we already had like 50 or something like that, right? We was like, we can't really take it. They don't sell. They would only sell during Christmas, and then that was the console that started going crazy. Like everyone was buying Wii's for whatever reason. Probably they're to exercise, but that was the one that was really starting to sell out at stores, and it was really weird. That
So
and Wii Sports went crazy too. Like,
is it because people were stuck at home or something? And
yeah,
shout out to
yeah.
anyone that just showed up. We have Dylan from Retro Respawn who owns the retro gaming shop here in California. We're talking this whole culture of the retro game shop. So yeah, sorry, we had a guest, someone in chat asked because they were late. Don't be late to our show. Just kidding. All right, where were we? Sorry, getting sidetracked, Dylan. Um,
Yeah. So start those again. Nintendo is always again. Nintendo's prices right now are crazy. Like
well, I
if you
remember the NES was not very much. It wasn't expensive. People NES games were like there were so many all over the place. I went to Game Dude. The NES side was like full. Now it's people are going after NES again. Like
Yeah, you're right.
what's
I would
go
definitely say NES was dead at one
Dude,
point.
NES was dead. Like you could get any NES game you wanted. There were still expensive ones, of course, but
Yeah.
now I go in and I'm like, "Oh man, they only have 6 NES cartridges. It's crazy."
Yeah, it's really weird seeing Game Dude with no NES cartridges because
Yes.
I was like, when anyone walked into our store, like, this is all the NES you got. I was like, go to Game Dude. We can't compete with that. You know what I mean? They had what 5 cabinets full of NES stuff or something.
Yeah, dude, they have those beautiful glass cabinets that like go along the whole wall almost. And
Right.
I went in there recently and I'm like they're like, you know how like you like put things in a display case to make it look like there's a lot? They never used to have to do that and now they're doing that. They're starting to like spread them out, you know what I mean? Yeah, like what the hell is going on? And why hasn't it stopped? Why, like, everyone's like, oh, this is just a fad. Retro game prices are going to stop, but I feel like it hasn't really stopped, right?
Um, I definitely think things are starting to cool down.
Cool
This is
down,
just
okay.
from me buying and stuff. Like I've already started bringing some of the games that were really expensive back down. I'm not saying everything. I'd say the games that were already expensive before pandemic, I don't know if they'll ever go back down. Like Clock Tower 2 is a five to $600, $700 game.
Oh my
That's
God.
probably that game's never going to come back to 250 or whatever it was before
Well,
pandemic.
Earthbound will never be under, like, what, $300 for a loose cart now? Like,
It's a
I mean,
good point you bring up Earthbound because I got a real cool statement about that game. So, because a lot of people, again, even when I was opening my family, all that was always like, how do you see your store doing in 10 plus years? Let's say Microsoft and Sony go full digital, right? which would be scary. I'm not gonna lie. That would be definitely something all of us would have to think about, like our whole, like every store in the valley and everything, every store everywhere. Um, but the biggest point I always use is Earthbound. The fact that that has a digital copy on almost every Nintendo system that has a shop and it still holds its $400 value is crazy.
Yeah, it's not a game you can't like find digitally at least and
Yeah,
play.
exactly. Like what one Google search in 10 minutes, you could probably download an emulator. Again, whoever I know, I get emulation is bad. Blah blah
Are
blah.
you're selling an Earthbound, right? I think when I was there I saw it. It's in the cabinet, right?
Store right now. It's actually the third one I've had in the store since I've opened, which is crazy also because that game I used to never see. I'd never seen it um,
I'll
before I
give you
went.
$100 for it, Dylan. How about that? No, I'm just kidding.
I,
And he laughs at me.
I could just download it for 10. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
the
yeah. So okay, so it is cooling off. I think I see that too. I definitely see that too. But where? Okay, so we talked a lot about like the present day. So let's talk about retro gaming shops. Why do you think is that why we're seeing all these shops opening and not including yourself? Because I feel like when I go, and I want to be honest, like I go to a lot of shops, and you've seen my TikTok, Dylan. Like I go to a lot of shops, and I love your shop. And I remember the first time I discovered you, I was literally just looking for an Xbox 360,
right,
and I realized on Google this retro store popped up, and that's how I found you. I was like, "Oh wow, there's a retro store that just popped up. Who is this?" And then I called you, and you told me I'm the Xbox guy. I love that.
yeah,
And
yeah, exactly,
I was able to go when I went into your shop that night for the first time. You sold me a Xbox Model E, which I also thought was really different and cool,
yeah,
and I like that. You were like, "Hey, I have the Model E." I was like, "Oh, the Model E. I've never even seen a Model E, and like, who
right,
knows?" And you like showed me it, and you convinced me, and I have it, and I'm playing. I'm using it to play some old Xbox 360 games, and it
right,
works
yeah.
great. But you're very personable. But what's happening with like other stores just popping up, especially in LA? Like, what's going on there? Like,
Um, LA is definitely getting crowded. Again, I have two opinions of the spots that haven't been. That there could be two more stores, but otherwise, this it's definitely getting crowded. Don't get me wrong. I'm not
but
saying,
isn't it crazy to even say that? Because like we were just talking, like just 7 years ago, there was one shop, Game Dude, right? It was
like
like
one.
there's like one shop, like what? So it's getting crowded. You think it's gonna stay crowded, or is it gonna keep growing?
It really just depends. It again, I think if prices drop, I don't know if everyone would want to stay in the game because I don't know how many people are again. You could say they're passionate and stuff like that, but like I don't know how passionate they are. Again, a lot of people I go at these stores and I just try to talk to them, and it's like one sentence conversations and we're done. You know what I mean? They can't expand on any of the conversations when we're talking about
So
anything.
you're talking about the importance of culture and like
Yeah,
kind of
there definitely is that.
no. And Dylan, when I go in your store, it's like you're hanging out with you instead of you
Exactly.
selling to us. Because I've been in your store, and every time I go in your store, there's like 3 to 4 people hanging out, and
Yeah,
that's cool. I think that's cool.
right.
So what? How do you create a culture in your shop? Like, let's talk about being a retro game owner. How do you go about creating your culture? Is it just building off of your own personality? Like, what's is it all based on the ownership? Because I go into Game Dude, okay,
Uh,
and there's a certain type of employee at Game Dude, and I mean this in the nicest way. They're really cool, but they're very like quiet, and they just wait for you to pick your games. They don't really converse with you, but that's their style, and that's Game Dude, right? So
right. Okay.
do you know what I'm saying? Am I crazy? I feel like that's how it is. But I go in your shop, I feel like I'm shooting the shit with you. I'm at home. How do you
I
even?
mean, it may be with the size of the shop for Game Dude. I'm not entirely sure. Again, I don't know what they're being told during training and stuff. There's definitely guys who, again, the Game Dude employees have come to my shop, and I've talked with one of the major people there for
Dude,
almost
I
two hours.
probably know them because I've It's been the same people working there for years, and that says a lot too. That says a
Yeah,
lot.
but yeah, it's weird. Again, I used to exclusively shop at Game Dude back in the day, but again, I around the Xbox One era, I started getting weird vibes from some of them.
Okay.
Don't get me wrong. It's just again, it was just weird stuff was being said, and I was like, you don't really say that to a customer, you know. Again, people under the bus. It caught me off guard.
That's so then. So how did you go about opening the store and creating your own culture?
Again, I am me and everything like that. That I'm not playing a character or anything like that. I'm not putting no fake facade. This is just who I am. I am the person who used to run LAN parties with 5 CRT or 4 CRTs for Halo 2 and 1. How I did that on a screen probably this big, I have no clue to this day because I'm like, how? Because I used to do it all the time.
So then how do you know that, like, okay, I have a shop that's empty. How do you know that you have enough of your collection to fill that store? Like, how do you even do that? Because, like, I'm a retro gamer, right? I have a dream of one day owning my own shop. I'm gonna move in right next to you. No, I'm just kidding. I'm thinking, like, down the line, maybe 10 years from now, maybe I'll open a store. I don't know, but how do you even know you're ready to open a store?
You don't. Even when I was looking at my stuff, I was worried if it was gonna be enough. It didn't look like enough to me.
Did
I
you?
mean, I know it sounds crazy. Only 1% came from my personal.
Wow, really? Wow,
Yeah, and that's about. I probably took from my personal 4% or something like small, like nothing.
wow.
Things I display, but not. It was stuff I had already planned to put in the shop anyway.
So wait, if 1% came from your collection, then the rest was investment, like to build your
Yeah,
stock. You invested the rest to build your stock. Is that
yeah,
basically the idea?
yes.
Now, once you opened, did you feel like you've now gotten more stock because of trade-ins and stuff like that? Has that become
Of course, and we're gonna bring up Game Dude again.
okay?
So
Bring them up. Bring them up.
we were looking at two major spots for opening a store, but I was super focused on this location because I was like, where are people? Where do I want to drive? Where do I not care about driving?
Right.
And I chose between these two exits right here, right in Arleta, the two freeway exits, because they never have traffic.
There's never traffic. Yeah.
Never traffic except for 1 hour out of the day at 6 p.m. basically. Like right now, where it should be a gridlock, I bet you I can still get to LA in 30 minutes. You know, which again at 6 o'clock, it's gonna take me an hour.
And there's your shop from the outside, by the way, so people can see the outside of the thing. So you had a
So
few locations. Location is the first part of opening a store, right? I guess that's the first most important.
I would say location is very important, especially like nightlife. Me and my wife, when we were checking out places, we would go at night and just see how traffic was. That was the two spots, and then it was between this and a place near between Pierce College and the mall. The only reason I didn't choose that place, even though it was cheaper than this place, is literally just because I was like, I think I will lose the entirety of anyone I've met at Game Tower because I didn't want to drive there.
Right.
If I don't want to drive there, how am I going to prove people want people to drive there? You know what I mean? It was going to take me almost 45 minutes every day to get there because there are no freeways there to get to that point in the valley.
Oh, by the way, Benny Tax said, I love the location. It's on my way to work. Always wanted a shop like Retro Respawn in my neighborhood. And also Dodger J7D. By the way, it looks like we have some customers in the chat.
Cool.
That's why I
Appreciate
go to Retro Respawn. Huge fan. That's awesome. Look at that, Dylan. They're following you to Twitch.
it. Beautiful.
So that Ben here is telling you that the location is good. And I'll be honest, dude, you are down the street from me, and that's cool. Like, so my girlfriend who was in chat, Tao, she lives in Echo Park. So I told you it is convenient when I go to her place because she lives in Silver Lake to go to Game Tower over there. But for
Right.
me, like she'll take me back to the valley and I say let's stop at Retro Respawn because that is easy for me to do on my way home. Honestly, like, and you're down the street, dude. So
Yeah.
to be honest, like the fact that I have you and Game Dude like a triangle is amazing, and I love that you opened over here. And I think you're right. I think you moved on a. I think it's a good location. Are you finding a lot of people like? What do you think the average person spends in your store? Is there an average time spent in your store? That's a good question for a
Oh, it's
retro.
like actually like a person staying in the store and shopping.
Yeah.
Ooh.
What do you think an
I
average
it,
time would be?
it sounds crazy, but I would say anywhere the lowest time at least 5 minutes. Even if a person doesn't want anything, they'll see something like, "What the heck? Do I haven't seen that in years?" To it sounds crazy, but like almost 2 hours. I've had people spend the entire day there who had no they had schedules. They were like, I'm gonna go do this thing later and have canceled that just to talk and stuff like that.
Oh man,
It
that's
sounds
cool.
crazy, but it is what it is, you know?
Yeah, and that says a lot about you. Also, I have a question. What's the story behind your logo? That X over the, is that just like a what does that represent? I want to hear that actually.
So my favorite game is Halo 2. Ever. Like I put more hours into that game than I have ever put into any game. It's sad because even on Master Chief Collection, that's not even my Halo 2. My Halo 2 is a broken mess of a game. It is melee basically for FPS is where you're
Okay.
doing combos, and then the problem is the Xbox original had a lot of issues running that game. So the way they try to keep people in the map was different than what the 360 and how the Xbox One read it. So you were basically able to fly across maps and stuff like that. Basically, without that element, um, it basically that game isn't real. But I was gonna say it is actually the Halo 2 death marker.
Oh, is it? Oh, that's cool,
Yeah,
dude. That's
yeah. So
cool.
yeah, so like when you, again, I'm a big Halo fan, and you would always say like when you die. Yeah, I played super competitive Halo. Like I was a ranked baby all day, and you would always say, "Yo, if you died, you're like, okay, there's two on my X
That's
because it would mark
cool.
that you're dead." Yeah,
I did here, let me zoom in so people can see.
yeah,
So yeah, this is the death marker. That's great, man. Yeah, I was curious. What is this logo? It looks familiar. Um,
right. And
that's
now
dope.
they've again for Halo each Halo game they've switched that logo up a little bit, but that was the
Halo 2.
yeah, like Halo, that is specifically Halo 2's, like the spacing and
So
all that.
that's why you're a big Xbox guy.
Yeah,
You're a
again,
huge Xbox guy.
I became that. Yeah,
Yeah, and by the way, anyone, if you are interested in anything Xbox, you still have a bunch of 360s, right? That's a big and I'll be honest, I've been around a few stores in the area and not a lot of people have the 360. You have a good selection of 360.
yeah. I basically have doubles of any of the collector's editions if anyone's looking for
And you
any.
still have the R2D2 Xbox 360?
Yeah, I think I have like two or three of them right
And
now.
those are cool because when it opens, it makes the R2D2 sign, and then it says what on the disc tray? It says,
On the disc tray, it says, "Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi. You're my only hope." 90% of people, I would say, who know about that console don't know that's there. So I always like to point that out because I
so.
didn't know it was there.
So, question for a retro shop owner: what right now are hot? What console is hot right now today? Like, if you had to say present right now, what's hot right now? Is it GameCube? What's really hot right now?
It is really hot right now.
If
The
you had,
best. I mean, let's see. PS2, GameCube, 64, and DS. I don't think people underestimate DS, I think, but here I think this is the real thing is I just think it's too hard to get. Like there's so many DS games and like if you go if I got any rare RPG that would be gone in 2 seconds. But no one would ever say DS because no one gets that stuff in bulk ever.
Oh, I think I
So
have your DS cabinet right here, or that 3DS, or maybe
yeah,
no, it's a bunch of stuff.
I mean I'm a big avid collector of PSP and Vita also because no store has it. Like I probably have again not to show off or anything, but I probably have more Vita than Game Tower, Game Dude, and Game Realms combined.
That's a I got you recorded on that. Oh, I'm just kidding. That's cool. So you actually so I believe in that. I I think GameCube. Why is the GameCube just started exploding? I remember like 4 years ago, GameCube games were like easy to get, and like they were, no one was looking at GameCube. What the hell happened with GameCube? Like, what do you think about GameCube? Kind of like became really popular recently. It's so popular now.
So I'd say that that generation is the again we're hitting that with the anyone who played that as a kid is now
Oh,
afford that right.
that makes sense. It's kind of becoming nostalgic to them, so that's why they're like, oh, now I got to go in and buy all these GameCube games again.
Yeah,
What's a
and
GameCube going for these days? A console? They're not too
I,
bad, right?
yeah, anywhere again for a generic model, anywhere from I'd say 80 to 110 ish, 120 on like again if it's like immaculate or something crazy, you know.
Hold on. Biff Bufflington in chat says, I feel like these stores are missing something special if they don't have at least one cabinet, far machine or pinball to play. Or are you
Dude,
saying?
I would love a pin. It's funny you bring up a pinball machine. We were talking if I could fit one more thing, and I said Adam's Family pinball machine, but that's
But to tell
$2,500.
Biff, just to say, pinball is one of the most expensive types of gaming to buy because it's mechanical. It's super expensive. It's like no one buys arcade cabinets anymore because they're all buying arcade one-ups because one-ups are just cheaper. That someone's got to make like an arcade one-up for pinball so that it's like affordable because man, a pinball machine is what, like 3 to 5,
I think
six thousand?
I think One Up does have a pinball machine. It's just not very technical. It's not very like it's not doing a lot. A lot of people again are surprised that like I would say the most people who play pinball are just playing to survive. Like people who are like really into pinball realize that each basically area is different. This whole setup is different, but most people don't notice that, and they're actually trying to beat the set game.
Yeah,
It.
and I think that it's just arcade cabinets and pinball machines are just very expensive. People don't look. There's no pinball machine retro stores. Like people don't. There's nothing you could buy that's tangible from like a pinball machine besides the actual pinball machine.
Yeah, and unlike back in the day where there were mechanics all over the place to do this, there's just not anymore. They've retired. They're gone. You know
It's
what I
an.
mean?
It's
That,
true. Pinball's an old. It's an old culture. But I love pinball machines. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, pinball.
yeah, even cabinets. Like, if you go open the old arcade cabinets, you're gonna find a log usually on the inside of who's worked on it and their date.
Do you have any cabinets, Dylan? Do you have any like arcade
I have
cabinets?
I have no official arcade cabinets. I have a PS4 kiosk that has been gutted to barely where it barely is a PS4 kiosk. I threw a switch in it, but mostly because I was like finding again when you're buying these kiosks, the companies are usually trained to destroy them or make them almost unusable. This thing is I don't know if it's doing proper ventilation. I'm being real on the PS4 one. The 360 one is I also have a 360 one, which is very nice. It only has two issues I'd say where like it's missing a cosmetic piece and the reset button doesn't work. But I just bought a remote, so
And do you have a couple kiosks at the store, right?
those are the two kiosks.
Those are the two. Okay. Those are cool too. The whole culture of buying and kiosks, that became a whole thing. You could probably get, wasn't there a time where people were like throwing those out And like,
That I'd say before pandemic, you could basically get any kiosk you want. Now there's a market for them. So
damn, I miss my chance. I
if
wanted
you're
one.
looking, I would say if you're looking for anything pre 360, you're gonna be spending money. That's for sure.
That's
And
crazy.
at least 4 digits now. I mean, you could get lucky again. I'm not saying that's guaranteed, but it's starting to look like that. The fact that again, I bought my PS4 kiosk for what 300 and my 360 for 500.
Now they're
But I
well over 1,000 for one of
yeah,
those, right?
probably way more than that now. Exactly.
Damn. I know there. I've seen some really cool collectors that have some kiosks. I think
Yeah.
Metal Jesus had a GameCube kiosk that was really cool that he picked up a while back. A while back. Um,
One of my good friends actually has. It sounds kind of gross, but three of them, three different GameCube games.
damn, that's
Yeah.
cool. Do you know anyone that has the McDonald's kiosks? Do people collect those? Do you know what I'm talking about?
No, I'm sure. No, you know what? I knew used to know someone with pieces for it, but they never had the full one.
That's crazy.
Because McDonald's is again, they don't want anyone to have that. That's why you have that story about the DS, that McDonald's DS was such a big hit because no one's supposed to get a hold of that. That stuff's supposed to be dismantled, destroyed.
Yeah, there was a time where they did the N64 kiosks at McDonald's. I think they did a GameCube one too.
Yeah,
But I remember the N64 ones were pretty cool. Um,
right.
so what's like so do you think that now that you've been open for have you been open for a year yet, or is it still like it's still only a few months, right?
3 months, man. It's been three
Damn.
months.
I
Yeah,
feel like you've been open forever, but it's only been a few months.
yeah.
So have you noticed you get regulars?
Oh,
Are there any customers that come in every single day yet? Do you have people that come
yeah.
in every day?
I think it's funny you say that because I have a friend who's a vendor. I'm going to shout him out. Thanks for you gaming. He's another store owner. He has a store that is in guy like right next to a Knott's Berry Farm, right? And for whatever reason, again, he has been at the store every day this week. But he's making that commute every day, and he's not always selling me, or I'm not always buying or anything from like that. He's just here to talk to me about again, still our whole culture and stuff like that. Most video game store
I
owners, like
love
I would
that.
say, whether we all talk to each other or not, all know each other at
Especially
least.
this area. Like there's a lot of you guys now.
Yeah.
I've been because I'm a shopper. I'm not like an owner, but I've definitely a lot of these people recognize me because you know me, Dylan. I kind of like jump around. I shoot videos. I like to feature and give like as much advertisement towards any retro store because I love the culture. And like when you opened, I wanted to support you, and you said that I did a TikTok video, and like people actually came in and
Yeah.
said they saw that. That was cool to know. So glad that's working out. But so I feel like all these owners have different because I went to we're gonna talk about that in a second. You guys know each other, but a lot of you guys, especially in the LA area, have been doing retro shops. Swap me. It's like Game Realms. And you said tomorrow, do you want to talk about what's happening tomorrow with Game Tower? I have it pulled up here. So it's called Retro Madness. So
It'll
what's
be
going don't you guys
retro.
have to have like a camaraderie to start these events too?
Yeah, they are either like a month to 2 weeks of planning, but usually it's planned way ahead of time. There's a list. We have to fight for our spots. Stuff not fight, but you know what I'm saying. We have to get our spots. We have to ask because it fills up quick. There's a lot of us,
Hey,
and
by
a
the
lot of
way,
people. Yeah,
Tao said in chat, you need a soda machine and snacks. Level up that culture.
I, I, I have a little mini fridge. I don't have snacks though. I don't lie.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Keep going.
No,
The retro
you're good.
swap.
You're good. You're good.
We got some funny things in chat here.
Yeah. I do. I'm selling monsters for $2. I'm underselling the whole market.
You hear that, people? You want a monster? You go to Retro Respawn and you'll get it for $2, not 4. I,
That's funny.
I love that. I
What's up? No, go for it.
Sorry, so tell me a little bit about Retro Madness and how you guys got this going. And that's tomorrow, which I will be making an appearance at 8 a.m. to 12 noon here in Los Angeles. And I'll shout out the address 19719 Nordhoff Street. And I'll share this link in chat so everyone can see. But go ahead, Dylan. Tell us a little about this one.
So that's gonna be Elliot's event. Every Retro Madness has been crazy. A lot of people go there.
I've never
If
been to
you're
one.
worried about crowds, it's gonna be crazy. There's been several times where there is so much excess people that had to go out and wait for a little bit, but it's crazy. Like you see some stuff there. You have people with, but you have backpack vendors. It's crazy, like because people will trade and stuff like that.
What's a
Not everything.
backpack vendor? That's a new one. I
I
like
know.
that.
I say that from like card game experience.
I love that.
So imagine like you bring your backpack, but you just sell on Instagram or something like that. You just sell on the side,
Yeah,
right?
you're not a store owner or anything like by that
I'm
means.
going to use this as an example because this is again a problem that's in when people walk in and stuff like that. So I'm going to use JoJo's as the example. JoJo's is anywhere between 400 for a really, really, really scratched up copy buy as is to like 600 for a
And we're
JoJo's
talking about JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, right?
PS1,
Yep, got
right?
it.
Yeah, I
Right
think
here.
the most recent one with that was super complete was like 700 or something like
I
that.
went in your store. You had like 4 of these, remember?
I do have four of them,
You
but
still have
people,
4 of them.
yeah, but this is where I gotta say, like, again, I get it. Everyone sees prices, they get excited, right? They're like, I'm a millionaire now. The problem is, even though it's worth that much, the amount of people that want to buy it is very small. So of my four JoJos, I've sold one.
Right, totally. I mean, it's a
Yeah, because
pricey game. It's a pricey game.
yeah, of course. And then again, you coming to me, I'm giving you warranty. Again, I have another JoJo in the back. I'll give you. You know what I mean? But it's it's tough because right now I think again people are hurting and they really want close to their retail price. And a lot of those where I'm telling them like, I'm sorry, I want in the store, but I have to turn it down because at the end of the day, I actually I have overhead. You know what I mean? I mean I would love to. I get it.
Yeah, you got to
Um,
buy snacks for your store. You got all that overhead on the snacks. No, I'm just
so
kidding.
I'm gonna use that as the example. Those people who are again selling on Instagram and stuff like that have a real hard time moving that. Now, if I have a hard time moving that with hundreds of people walking I mean, like I don't know, I'm probably over exaggerating, but yeah, you know what I mean. Thousands, I would say thousands, maybe in within a year, right? Thousands, right?
Right.
And it's sitting there. I have an Instagram where people can see it, and then no one's buying it. Imagine their struggle trying to sell it.
Yeah, it's not
So
that easy.
yeah, they would rather trade those bigger items for more sellable items like Pokemon games sell all day.
Actually, I have a question for you. Biff says, I potentially have a silly question. What is with the I always say this wrong, this name word. Nomenclature, I always say that wrong. On the first gen PlayStation. Is it PS1 or PSX? I've never been sure.
Dude, I don't know what to call it either. Good question. I just call it. I just call each one the PS1 at this point because it's weird because there is actually a console called the PSX. It was exclusively released in Japan, and that thing is a monstrosity. If you look that up, you should pull
What
that
is
up.
it?
Just look up PSX. It's a monstrosity. One of my friends owns it.
PSX Japan?
Yeah, that thing's almost as big as a PS3 fat,
Huh. I don't even
and
think
that's a
I've known.
PS by technicality.
Is it this white? This
That's
thing?
it.
Whoa.
Yeah, yeah.
I've never
Heck,
seen this before. Jesus.
yeah, there's a lot of those things you just never see again. It's like even you have you I'm sure again for Vita like there's a game called Neptunia, right? I don't know if you've ever heard of the Hyperdimension Neptunia
No.
series, but all the girls in the game are named after Sega consoles, and the Neptune was just a console that never came here. The Sega Neptune and stuff like that.
And then I know of the have you ever heard of the Scorpion? or I forget what system. The Sega Scorpion. It was like a clone of the Genesis that was sold in like India or something. I don't
I've
know.
never seen that, but I believe it because I know a bunch of 64 stuff and GameCube stuff like
Or the Nintendo Comboy, which was the Nintendo NES in Korea, but they had to change the name and sell it through Hyundai because Japan couldn't sell directly in Korea back then. So
right.
they had to sell through a different manufacturer, a, but it was basically the NES, but it was called the Comboy. Um,
Mhm.
there's all these crazy systems like that that have popped up. This is really cool. I never knew about the PSX white, huge looking, beautiful. It looks nice though. I won't lie. It looks pretty.
It has like rails on the side. It has some weird stuff on it. Trust me, like because you could feel like it's supposed to not be even owned. That's where it feels like when I saw it. I was like, is it supposed to be like in a cabinet? You're like, nah, this was retail. I'm like, that's crazy.
That's crazy. By the way, Very Vanessa has a question for you. Do you guys sell an old Nintendo game called Burger Time along with the appropriate console? I'm interested if you have it. So I guess you would need an NES.
Yeah.
And
So I am definitely working on all my NESs right now. That console is finicky. I am not gonna lie. Like I've replaced the pins, and even then, that doesn't always solve its issues. I do have three of them, like the NESs, and for Burger Time, I would definitely have to look if I had that in stock. I've had it in stock before, but I don't know if I currently have it in stock.
I actually don't think I have Burger Time on NES. That's a good one to look for. I love Burger Time, the arcade game. I'm a
Yeah,
huge fan. Well, hey, Dylan, man, have you had fun today
yeah, I've
with
had a
me?
lot of them. Yeah.
I wanted to ask you, if, like, just kind of like a final question, Dylan.
Yeah.
Final question is like, where's the future hold for Retro Respawn? What do you see for yourself in the next few years? And where do you see the climate of the industry?
Um, climate of the industry is interesting because again, as an Xbox fan, I could even tell you like it's weird. Game Pass is crazy. There's no deal like that. That's
Yeah,
bizarre.
I'm playing San Andreas, the definitive edition, for free right now on Game
Right.
Pass.
Exactly. And the fact is, like, when you get Game Pass, you get everything. You get EA access. You get your Ubisoft, whatever. You play whatever they're trying to do. You know, I'm saying. But it's crazy because it actually all of it works. And Microsoft's been on this crazy like gamers first like attack right now. And I'm not gonna say for sure, but Monday I really again I have no proof they're gonna do this, but I really think they're gonna shadow drop Halo on Monday.
The Halo Infinite.
Yeah, I think they're just gonna be like, yeah, yo, multiplayer is good to go. Good luck, guys.
Well, it's free. It's going to be free. That's pretty
Right,
cool.
right. But Apex Legends literally did that. There was no promotion for that game, and they just, yeah, this game's coming out tomorrow. Good luck, guys.
Here you go.
Yeah, I have no proof that that's gonna happen tomorrow, but I mean on Monday. But there's I, I don't know why they would be holding a big press conference on again CE's anniversary and Xbox's 20th year anniversary, and they've been like literally on like chain gunning this year.
They have. I like
Yeah,
what Microsoft's been doing. Actually, I'll be
yeah. The
honest.
fact that they released the fridge is kind of silly.
The fridge was silly, but like for instance, Forza 5 is not a game I would buy, but I'm playing it because of Game Pass, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And by the way, Forza 5 is beautiful. By the way,
Yeah,
that
yeah.
what a beautiful game that is. So what can we expect in the future from Retro Respawn? You said that you might be doing more like maybe competitions or events and
Yeah,
stuff.
I mean, I definitely plan to do tournaments and stuff like that. I have a bunch of like uh what's it called? Computer monitors. Like I want to host Smash tournaments. Computer monitors and switches aren't that heavy. The glass could handle it. It just with the whole pandemic thing, I don't want anyone to get sick. I don't want my story to be blamed for any of that. So I'm just holding out. And again, we were out of mask restrictions in LA when I signed the lease. So
Yeah, so that was like right after June. Yeah, you're right. You opened in July, so that makes
it's
sense.
it's kind of crazy. Even like if you think about it, like we were out of masks for what 2 months.
Yeah, now it's a mandate, and you have to have a vaccination card to get into a
That's what I'm
business.
saying. So it's
Is
wild.
that affecting you? Like for your business, do you have to ask people to show
I
their vaccination?
I don't have to do that, but I know people who are doing it.
Right.
Uh,
Okay. But I think food businesses have to
yeah,
or something.
food. Anything with food has to, and
Got it.
gyms. Yeah, gyms have to.
Well, gyms are the most disgusting place anyway. So yeah, they should. Dodger says, "I hope so. My Xbox Halo Edition has yet to ship, so it makes me doubt this theory. I really want to play it though." Um, cool, man. So let's shout out. Where can we find Retro Respawn? Tell us where this place is.
Arleta, California, 8652 Woodman Avenue. If you follow me on Instagram, I ship. I'll give you tracking. Generally, if you're buying more stuff, I'll hook you up. I ship everywhere within the U.S. Yeah, I just shipped to Alaska for the first time like 2 weeks
What?
ago. It wasn't an issue. I thought it was going to be an issue. I really did. But it didn't seem like when I went to USPS, they were just like, okay. It was just like a normal package. But yeah, again, I always tell people sometimes you don't think things are gonna be expensive for shipping, but it's disgusting. Like, I gave a real good homie discount to somebody because he's bought a lot of stuff, and I assumed the guitars were gonna be $40 shipping, and they were $80 shipping.
Oh wow.
I didn't make him pay that because again, he had bought so much stuff already. You know what I mean?
Wow. Well, dude, that's awesome. So you ship. Check out Dylan if you guys happen to be in California, especially the LA area. Check it out. I go there. And then tomorrow, just a reminder, you're doing the retro swap in Northridge.
Yeah, it should be.
Retro Madness, right?
Yeah, Retro Madness.
And yeah, if anyone, I will be posting this episode on the full VOD will be available. I'll make sure to include a link to how to find Dylan. I'll share the Instagram and then the website and then the address. Dylan, thanks so much, man. It's great. You know, we've met in person and it's really just really cool to like shoot the shit with you about
Yeah.
being a retro shop owner. Thanks so much for your time, and then everyone in chat, thanks so much for stopping by. And you know, we had some of your customers in chat, which is really cool. And if you haven't checked out Retro Respawn, definitely do. Dylan, again, thanks so much. What we're gonna do is on Twitch we raid another channel when we end our show. And today,
Cool.
as a joke, do you know Jay and Silent Bob?
Yeah, I do.
So Jay Mayhews is streaming right now. We're gonna raid him, not like he would care or need us to. But we're just going to do that for fun. So give Jay Mayhews some love from Jay and Silent Bob. And Dylan, I'll see you tomorrow, man, because I'm going to stop by the Retro Madness.
For sure, man. Again, thank you for having me on. I'd love to do this again sometime.
Hell yeah. Maybe we'll do one where we can tour around your shop a little more and get to see things.
Yeah.
But yeah, all right, cool. And everyone else that stopped by and anyone on VOD, thank you so much. We'll be back next Saturday for another episode of CafeBTW, a morning gaming podcast. We got some more guests coming down. I'm sorry about last week. You see what happens when we don't have a guest? Everything kind of fell apart. They left on me last minute, but Dylan, he showed up, and he's here, and we had a great show. So thanks, everyone, and we'll see you next time. Let's give Jay Mayhews some love. We're going to rate him right now. And Dylan, thanks again, man. Have a great weekend.
Yeah, no problem, man. I'll see you soon.
All right.
Bye, guys.
All right, see ya. All right.